This is the Servers Radio Network. Welcome to this edition of A Server's Journey with Rocky DeStefano. The foundation of the program is that everyone is leading something or someone.
Hey, Larry, how you doing today?
Oh, fantastic. I am so excited about today's program.
I agree with you, Larry, 100%. And as always, we want to welcome everybody, and we want to thank them for walking this journey of leadership with us. Larry, as you mentioned, the premise of the show is that everybody's leading something or someone. We are all on a path of being a leader, and that's why we call this A Server's Journey. And today, Larry, talk about our guest.
Oh, well, we've got an exciting program because it's Katherine from Paper for Water.
That's right. That's
and
one of the sisters.
One of the
other
sisters.
One is Isabel.
And she is, I can't believe it, she's 13 years old.
Now 13, but
Yes.
started this all when she was 6.
Right.
Yeah.
But she sounds like she's 21.
She does, yeah.
I mean, she's just so well spoken.
Right.
That's what a great story. So we've got that coming up.
Yeah, and we can't wait for you guys to hear a little bit more about Paper for Water and Katherine and Isabel, who I'm sure at some point will be running for president.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, a lot of people have been responding to the program as well.
Yeah, we're starting to get some great comments, and as always, we really welcome you to please rate us, tell us what we're doing well, and give us feedback. At some point, we're going to start pulling people at random and rewarding people with free Chick-fil-A for a year. So,
What?
Yes, free Chick-fil-A for a year.
What a deal that would be. Now, of course, is that worldwide, or will that be
can
just
be accepted anywhere?
All right.
Yeah. Well, not worldwide yet, but anywhere in the continental.
wherever there is a Chick-fil-A.
Now, we can't reward this gentleman. This is Wally World 68, and Wally is actually from the St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. So, unfortunately, we have no Chick-fil-A there. But
No.
Wally says, good and useful information. If you are ever around other people, A Server's Journey is for you. Wherever you are in life, you have influence on those close to you. In these podcasts, Rocky and his guest bring you along and point out ideas that will help you lead on your own journey. And we want to thank all of you who have rated the...
Rated, yes, rated.
I started reading this segment, Larry, as part of Wally's comments.
Right.
Which I don't want to do. We're saying we really want to thank everybody who has rated us on any of the podcast formats or on our website.
Right, and you speak about the podcast formats. Someone asked, are we on Google? Well, we're on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher.
Stitcher, thank you.
iHeartRadio, and TuneIn, and Alexa.
Amen.
So
we're on all those.
All of those. Those are the big players right now in the what do you call in the podcast world.
That's right.
That's where we are.
So we also would love for you. We keep talking about our website, and we really want you to go to our website and check us out. And we've partnered with a great and amazing creative firm to do our website.
And it's called ACS Creative. When it comes to creating a website, it pays to go to the pros, and that's why we went to ACS Creative.
Yep.
They do brochures, logos, direct mail, ad campaigns, and websites. And
as we always like to say, they don't play games with your money, Larry.
They understand your business, and they'll get the job done. That's ACS Creative on the internet. So go to there. All right, let's see. Is it time for?
It is.
Epic Moments in Leadership.
Yes. So Larry, today we're going to be talking about Monster career expert Vicki Salami.
Very good. I'll say that.
Talk about what she shares with us, Larry.
Well, she says when you cry at work, it's a sign of a toxic environment.
Yeah. Now, it kind of goes without saying, but, if you're crying because you stubbed your toe, we're not talking about that kind of crying.
No. The headline said 8 out of 10 people have cried at work.
Yeah, which is shocking to me.
And so according to the new study done by Monster, 8 out of 10 people have cried at work. And
so, Larry, let me kind of put that in context. you wouldn't think of work being a place where you cry, but the reality is that there's a lot of conference rooms and a lot of secret tears, which really point to a workforce that's not very happy.
Oh, I can remember my wife coming home
Yeah.
from work, and I cried again today. They made me do it.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
Here's the crazy thing. This, Monster found out that in a poll of 3,000 workers, 45% of the people who answered admitted to having cried, and not only having cried, but said that it was because of their bosses or coworkers.
Yeah.
So that's pretty shocking.
And that's where we get down to, and we talked about it in other episodes, why people leave. They don't leave the company, they leave the boss.
Well, and here's the crazy thing, too, because I think it's easy for bosses in general, and I'm including myself, to say, oh, well, they're crying, but there's probably something personal that made them cry at home. But it's not true, because only 19% of the respondents from that poll said that the reason for their crying was personal and non-work related. The majority of
people crying at work.
Yeah, it's because of the boss, which
Yeah.
is shocking. So that's today's epic moment. I don't know if it's epic or epic failures, but if somebody is crying at your workplace, you might want to do some checking out to see what's up.
So let's get to the program.
Okay, the meat of the show.
Let's get to the meat of the show.
So I am very pleased today to welcome Katherine Adams to our show, and she is a wonderful young woman who has an organization that she's involved with called Paper for Water. But I wanted to start, Katherine, if you could just share a little bit about yourself, where you live, and what are your hobbies, etc.
Sure. So my name is Katherine. I'm 13 years old. I live in Dallas, Texas. I love baking, gardening, horseback riding, running, a very active person. I like doing arts and crafts and reading books.
Do you have a favorite author, or is there?
Oh, wow.
My daughters, two of my daughters read also.
So many different authors, different kinds of books. I could never pick a favorite.
Okay, that's very fair. I have two daughters that also read all the time, and I don't know that they could pick an author too. So
yes.
So talk about, if you could, Paper for Water, when you guys got involved, or when you guys started it, and kind of why. Yeah.
Okay, so in 2011, I was 5 years old. I learned that a child died every 15 seconds from unclean water, and that girls my age weren't going to school because they were hauling water all day. And I thought that this was just really unfair and a terrible problem. So I took something I loved doing, which was origami, and my older sister and I, we started Paper for Water. Started out really small, but now 7 years later, we raised over $1.5 million and helped to fund over 200 water projects in 20 countries.
Okay, so that's amazing in itself. So I have to ask you, was it more your idea or more Isabel's idea? Do you guys ever claim this is my idea more, or?
To this day, we kind of agree on that it was both of our ideas. I learned how to fold origami first. That's definitely, origami was kind of what I started, but she was definitely crucial in the idea of Paper for Water.
Okay. So now most kids that are that age aren't hearing stories about other kids in other countries dying. Talk about how you came upon that information.
So actually, we have a back house in our backyard, and the person living there at the time, she had gone on 2 drilling trips with Living Water International. And before Paper for Water, we actually did 2 other projects where we did a craft. We took donations for it, and all the proceeds went to, well, the first time we did Children's Hospital, and then we did Pediatrics Burn Camp.
Okay.
So again, we were looking for something to donate to, and she came over with a scrapbook of pictures and facts, and she told us all about the world water crisis. So that's kind of how we figured out about it.
So most, and I can say that at that point you were a young kid. You're not a young kid anymore, but at that point, even presented with a problem, you might feel anxious or upset about it for a while, but normally most kids that age would just forget about it. What do you think is in you and Isabel that kind of made you guys really want to be active and try to help solve this issue?
Um, I'm not.
That's a hard
That's
question, I'm
actually,
sure.
I've never had this question before.
Well, so what
Um,
I guess what I'm looking for is I have wonderful daughters, but I don't know that at 6 and 8 if they would have been thinking about ways to solve it. So I'm wondering if your parents are active in these kind of things, or if they
hmm.
did something to instill in you this desire.
From a very young age, my parents would take us and we would volunteer. We would go to homeless shelters and we'd serve food. We would go to nursing homes. We'd bake cookies. We were very active in our community and volunteering, and they just instilled in us this great sense of giving back. And they were definitely why Paper for Water started, because they were just very giving people, and they just instilled that in my older sister and I.
So when you first had this idea, did you go to your parents first for help or for ideas about how to see it through?
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
They have been very supportive and very helpful, because as a 5 and 8-year-old, it's kind of hard to just start and just run with it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, talk about with Paper for Water. How would somebody, if they wanted to get involved, if they wanted to find a way to kind of join you guys in partnering, how would they do this?
So we have an online store on our website, which is paperforwater.org. They could go there and we have a bunch of information. It just kind of depends how they want to be involved. If they want to volunteer and fold paper with us, we have monthly groups that meet and they can come learn how to fold. If they're more interested in just donations, they can go on our website and we have installations that we do, or just ornaments. So it just really depends how they want to get involved.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things I'm real impressed with is people can get involved at a very low level where they simply just buy an ornament, or they can, help plan a folding party. And I was really curious about that. How did you guys come up with the idea to host these parties? And do you have any idea how many parties normally are going on or planned?
So the idea, when we started Paper for Water, it was literally just our family folding,
Right.
and we'd spend hours every day, and it got to the point where we couldn't keep doing it because I have school and we had other activities that we were participating in, and so it suddenly struck us that we could have people who helped us, and we realized that there's a lot of people who want to help. And so the folding parties, they started out really small in our house, and it outgrew our house. So we had to find another space. So right now we do them at our church, and usually an average of about 100 people attend every month. And then how many? We have a group that meets at our house once a week, and then we have our big folding party once a month. But we also have a bunch of little school groups that fold. We have church groups that help us, youth groups, stuff like that.
How do they get involved?
A lot of it is just hearing from a friend, or stumbling across us online or something like that.
So how, in a typical folding party, how many ornaments can you guys get produced?
Oh, that really depends on what kind of ornament. We have
Right.
ornaments that take 30 minutes or ornaments that take 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
So it really just depends. It also depends if the people have been there before and know how to fold. But I can't give you a number, but I have to say that we are very productive during our folding parties.
Have you ever run out of, have you ever had so much demand that you were out of ornaments? Because of course, thinking of Chick-fil-A, I'm always thinking, oh my gosh, how do you produce this and keep up with the demand?
We have, I don't think we've ever run out, but we have definitely had some crunch moments where it was a little crazy trying to produce a lot of ornaments. And
Right.
Yeah.
So have you been on a living water trip yourself, you and your sister?
No, you have to be 14 before you can actually go on one.
Right, that's what I
But
was
my
thinking.
sister last summer, she was actually going to go on one. And she had a group of friends. They were all ready to go, and then a volcano erupted.
Yes, yeah,
So,
yes, that was a no-no.
so they didn't go. But we really do want to go on a trip with them as soon as we're both old enough.
Do you have any idea of like the part of the world that you're most interested in, or like do you feel a call for a certain area, or you'd go anywhere?
I would go anywhere. We've traveled a lot and visited our wells in lots of different countries. And I do have favorites, of course, but I mean, I'd really go anywhere.
Yeah.
So you have visited your wells, the wells? That
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it's just you haven't got there when they're
the first time we went out, it was for India in 2013, I believe, for Christmas 2013. We went to India and we visited a lot of wells. And then we went to Peru, I think 2015. I think. And then 2 years ago, we took 8 months off of school and we traveled around the world and visited tons of water projects all over the world.
Well, now, so what's happening when you get to these projects? What's the response of this well?
All the people are really happy and joyful, and there's usually lots of singing and dancing.
Right.
It's an amazing experience to go visit them.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you know, I've done a few of these trips, and I can tell you when you get to do one where you're actually helping to dig, when you strike water, there's no better feeling. Like you know, you know. You know what it means to have water, but when you see the interaction of the village and how excited they are, it's almost overwhelming.
For sure. I can imagine.
Yeah. So that's cool. So how many wells have you helped to build so far?
We don't have an exact number because it's hard because if they're in the middle of drilling them or getting ready to drill, but we're estimating around 200.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And each, just for anybody listening, you know, the wells, they can kind of range different, cost depending on the country. So in El Salvador, when we did our first well, we raised around $5,000, and it was pretty quick that we hit water. Nicaragua, we had to dig much deeper, and so there was a little bit more cost. And then I would imagine India, Kenya, some of the other places that you've dug, it could range, considerably in what the cost is. So.
Exactly.
So talk about, because I'm intrigued by your story. I'm really blown away by the fact that, first of all, you and your sister had the desire to help others, and that you've kind of seen it through. Because I know it doesn't come easy, and it takes a lot of time, I would imagine.
For sure.
Does it feel like a job, a full-time job sometimes?
Yes, it sometimes does. It's a lot with school, and I play sports to come home and then do paper for water. It is definitely sometimes does feel like a job, but I love doing it, and it gives me such joy to help all those people. So even though sometimes it does feel like a job, it's definitely a job I enjoy. Right.
So if you could, I was really intrigued by the fact that you've managed to find some other partnerships with some pretty big organization and even museums. Can you share about how maybe you got people like Neiman, or not people, but organizations like Neiman Marcus involved, and also the museums?
So I think everybody wants to help and make a difference. It's just knowing the right people to talk to and who to pitch your ideas to. But I feel like everybody does want to help, and so it's not really that hard to get people to help you out.
Right. The desire is there. It's just a matter of you still have to go through the process of going through the higher ups and getting.
So it's not what you know, it's who you know.
No, I agree with you. I think most people, I guess I want to believe this too, but I think most people really want to make a change, make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe we can get Chick-fil-A as a chain involved. I mean, we have 3,000 stores. Maybe we can help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Now, Rocky's only got 2 stores, not.
Well, what I am hoping is that we're able to. So, my partnership with Living Water is Chick-fil-A actually is involved with helping Living Water, and it started with one operator in Houston who did a trip and fell in love with the organization, and then he was able to get his market to, as I think it was 50 stores, do a month-long fundraising for Living Waters, and then they got the Dallas market to help, and it's kind of spread from there. So what I'm hoping is that we might have some success within our stores, and maybe even set a path for the future to where Chick-fil-A can help you guys get more notoriety and build more wells.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So do you ever feel like, even though you've built 200 wells, do you feel like you're even, like, is the job finished, or do you feel like you could just keep building wells all the time here?
I feel like the job won't really be finished till it's finished. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's always so much to be done. Sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming how big the need is, but I feel like it's definitely a solvable issue.
Right. So when you visit, my first experience visiting, and El Salvador, people go there for vacations. There's a whole tourist industry there. But when I went there for my first well, and when I saw the poverty, and like what you mentioned, I saw young girls and young boys carrying gallons of water 5 miles, just to have clean. It at first, like the first day, it felt overwhelming. It felt like, oh my God, your heart breaks for this. How do you guys feel when you're in the middle of conditions that you can only imagine here in America?
So we went to India, as I already told you, and it was just very overwhelming, as you said.
Right.
The poverty was just so extreme there. We went to a school where we had put a water project in, and the kids were really happy, but their school was a cement building,
Right.
but it was too dark inside because they didn't have electricity. So they conducted classes on the roof. And I go to a very nice school, and I was just comparing the two in my head and how incredibly blessed we are over here.
Right.
And it was mind-blowing, really.
Yeah. Do you ever, residual effects, because I've been afraid to go to India, because I've been to, like I said, Nicaragua, Kenya, El Salvador, and it is rough there. It's overwhelming. But then I've heard that you go places like India or Haiti, and it's like another level altogether. Do you ever have residual effects for when you get home, you're like almost embarrassed to eat or embarrassed to turn on electricity? Have you ever felt that way when you've come back?
Yes. When we came back, I found myself complaining about something really trivial, and I caught myself, and I was kind of embarrassed because I realized that what I was complaining about wasn't even a probability, like it wasn't even possible that somebody in India could be complaining about. It was such a first world problem.
Right. Yeah.
That it was, yeah.
Yeah. Right now, do you have any projects planned or any projects that are ongoing right now as far as building wells?
So we are finishing up our water projects, finishing up funding and getting everything firmed up for this year. But we also do have a project going on in New Mexico that's been going on for, maybe the last 3 years, I think, maybe 4. But there's a Navajo reservation out there, and it was 250 homes without running water, and most of them don't have electricity. So we went out there with Dig Deep, and we started putting in in-ground water tanks with pressurized pumps so they could have a sink and shower in their home. So that's been going on for almost, I think, I think 3 years. I'm not positive though. But this Christmas, we are hoping to finally finish up that area. So that'll be really exciting. So that's kind of our big thing right now.
I'm really happy you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people don't realize, even in a country like America, where we are so richly blessed, there are still pockets of real need. How did you guys hear about the Navajo Reservation and, just this need?
Right. I honestly can't remember really how we found out about it.
You feel like that's a project that can be completed, like where you can say, hey, we've done this.
Right. Yes.
That's
It's been a pretty big project in the area we're working in. And we've been helping there for quite a while now. And we're really excited that it's finally wrapping up and
that's great.
About to be finished.
Do you have plans for anywhere else in America? Is there a next place here locally?
We haven't really thought about the next place we're going to help, but Dig Deep is focusing on the community right now that they're in, and then I think they're going to just do communities around that one. Mm-hmm. So we'll probably, wherever they decide to go next, we'll follow.
Yep. Cool.
Okay, so Paper for Water, you raise money to help build wells. How can we, other than just donating, because there's a place on the website where you can donate, can we create a party like you do down there? Or is there a way that more people can get involved in the project?
Yeah. How does somebody who's interested and moved by this story, how do they get involved if they're in Orlando or, Atlanta?
There's endless possibilities of stuff you can do. But we have quite a few people around the United States. We have a couple kids who have started school groups. They fold with their classmates. It's like a club. If you're an adult, you can, I don't know, get some friends together, maybe fold.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind folding too. We actually, for my niece, we folded 1,000 origami swans for her wedding, because I guess it's a sign of good luck.
Yeah.
And so we sat there for hours.
We could have got paper for money for it too. Come on.
Yes, but there's so many different ways you can get involved. And if you're not a fan of folding, that's totally fine. You can have a party to raise money and awareness, or, really anything.
Yeah, and you can even just go online and buy an ornament, which would
exactly.
So share one more time your website. And we're going to also have a link from our website to yours, too.
All right. So our website is paperforwater.org. And we're also trying to boost our YouTube subscribers, because when you hit a certain point, you can start making money off of it.
Right.
So our YouTube is Paper for Water. So go and subscribe.
Awesome. So we're going to, if you don't mind, before we kind of end for this episode, we have a game that we like to play with people. And so we call it This One or That One. And we're going to give you two things, and we're going to ask you which is your favorite and maybe why. Do you mind playing with us for a little bit?
Of course.
It's not super long. It's just a couple questions, but we're going to start with this one. Do you prefer Instagram or Twitter? And it's okay to say neither.
I don't have a phone, so I
am so
have
impressed
been
with
on
that.
Instagram, so I probably would prefer Instagram just because I've been on it more than Twitter.
Yes, but I'm very impressed you don't have a phone yet. Now,
Compliments of parents.
So do you have a magic age where you're allowed to get a phone?
College.
Oh, geez, I love that. See, I held out till our daughters were 16. And they thought I was punishing them,
Exactly.
So
wait till they hear this story.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and say I'm taking their phones back until college. Okay, next question would be Steven Spielberg or Walt Disney?
Walt Disney, for sure.
Are you a Disney person? You're a big excited?
I'm definitely a big Disney fan, yeah.
Have you been to the parks?
Oh, yes, many times.
Yeah, living in Orlando, we get to go there a lot. So.
Oh, nice.
Do you prefer Star Wars or Harry Potter?
Oh, wow. Oh, probably Star Wars. I love all the space travel and spaceships, but I do love Harry Potter as well.
Okay. And we have 2 quick questions. The first one is going to be Broadway or rock and roll?
Oh, wow. Probably Broadway.
Okay. Do you have a favorite show, or do you just like the genre in general?
Just in general.
Yeah. My daughters are huge Broadway fans. So
that had to be on there for their daughters. So.
Okay. And the last one, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Tom Holland or Chris Hemsworth?
Oh my gosh.
Larry, I had to tell Larry who they were first.
Oh, you're hurting her.
Probably Tom Holland.
Yeah, that would be my daughter's choice too.
But I do love all the Chris's.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you so much for being on the episode, and we're just really impressed with what you guys have done. We know that it couldn't have been easy, and that it's been real work for you guys, and definitely a sacrifice. But we're just really, truly thankful that you guys have made a difference.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Hi, we want to thank Katherine very much for being with us here on A Server's Journey, and we want to thank you for linking up with us today. Remember, we're asking all of you to subscribe to the podcast because we all want to be good leaders by serving. And again, remember that the podcast is on all of the major servers, so tell your friends wherever they get a podcast, they can find A Server's Journey. And again, I would suggest that if you need help with your website, contact ACS Creative. They don't play games with your money.
So until next time, Larry, I'm going to say this. I'm your ever faithful companion, Larry, Rocky DeStefano.
Did I forget to say that?
You did. And you know what? Goodness. You gave me the opportunity to say it and to be your ever faithful companion.
Oh, thank you. I feel a pat on my back.
Hey, guys, we would love for you to go to our website, aserversjourney.com, and we're going to have some links where you can reach Paper for Water's website. We really, really want you to help Katherine and Isabel as they change the world one water well at a time. And, you know, we talk a lot about leadership and about being a servant leader. And I don't know that we've ever had a finer example than Isabel and Katherine, who at age 6 and 8 decided to make a real difference. And as you heard, 200 wells, but the need is so great. So we are going to ask you to go there and to donate, to do everything you can to make a difference in this world. So we want to remind you, as always, and thank you again for being on this journey with us. We truly believe it's how you serve while being a leader, and that's why we're going to keep sharing this server's journey until you guys stop listening. I'm Rocky DeStefano. I want to thank you for joining with us again. And as always, I'm going to ask, are you somebody worth following?